All right, and now to something completely different. I'm happy to introduce our next speaker, John Lewicki. We are going to talk about the international efforts the NHL is doing. And please, the floor is yours. Let me just introduce John properly. He's Senior Vice President of International Partnership, is having the office in Zurich, which was launched last August. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is on board for already 8 years and has been, prior to this, worked and led for more than 20 years. McDonald's, already at that time, heavy hitters like IOC and FIFA in the portfolio.
Yes.
And now you make ice hockey great again.
Yes, indeed. Go from buyer to seller, I guess.
Excellent.
But thank you very much, and thank you all for having me here and indulging me in speaking English, and hopefully you can understand me more than I can understand most of what was being spoken. My German is still just basic. But yeah, we're very excited that it's been a long time since the NHL we've been involved in the international market. The reason we're coming to the international market is because we do know that we have fans across the world. We have a lot of ice hockey fans, and we're somewhat of a niche sport in the fact that you need ice. So we're northern hemisphere more than we are southern hemisphere from an activation standpoint. But we certainly have fans across the world, and even down in Australia, we have a lot of fans now. Some may argue those are mostly expats from Canada, but we do have a lot of fans in Australia as well, and we actually played some games down there. But as you can see that our fan base is growing. We have a lot of fans across Europe, so it's important for us to be here. And the main reason that we wanted to come to the marketplace is because of the star power of international players. And I want to point out that we are not, the NHL is a league in North America. There are leagues across Europe. There's an Austrian league, German league, as you know. And we are here to support those leagues to make sure that ice hockey continues to develop and continues to grow, because 30% of our players come from overseas and mostly from Europe. And right now we have 3 Austrians in the league, and in 5 years we'd like to have 10 Austrians, and go on and so forth, to build that base of hockey players and continue the development of ice hockey across Europe in order to continue these numbers and this international progress. Some of the best players of the world in the NHL are from the international markets. Arguably the best player, maybe the second best player, is from Germany in Leon Draisaitl. Mention it, Alex Ovechkin, the leading goal scorer and scoring leader of the NHL history, as from Europe. It's not working. And again, the excellence is not just about the number of players who are coming and a couple of stars. There are a lot of players from Europe who are doing great things in the NHL, from the fact that there are individual awards being won by international players, to players who have been in the All-Star game and have been recognized for their talent and their ability, as well as those who have been playing on Stanley Cup winning championships and been able to bring the Stanley Cup home to Europe in their 24 hours that they get with it. The unique thing that we have with the Stanley Cup playoffs is every player gets the trophy for 24 hours. They take it to wherever they want it to do, and so it makes multiple trips in the summer after the team has won. It's reserved for the teams through August and early September to bring home and do what they want with it. And multiple players have done that, of course, across Europe. The aspect of what we're trying to do, really build across the aspect of the businesses through broadcasts and through the activation. So we know there's a hockey structure here. There are leagues, there are games that are played here. Our games are a little bit not necessarily time friendly. So what we've done over the past 7 years, if we've created a schedule where we've developed and built into our schedule games that are on at noon to 1 o'clock Eastern Central Time in North America. So they show up here in prime time between 7 and 9 p.m. On the prime time days. Those have been historically Saturdays and Sundays. And it was interesting what I could pick up from the group before us and the broadcast component, looking at. This was our first foray into it as we started to develop this and making sure that we get those primetime games. We know that there are hardcore fans who consume the product, sometimes staying up until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch games. But we know most of our fans consume the product the next day through highlights. So we're developing different packages on YouTube and different channels of distribution in order for our fans to continue to consume the product the next day if they can't see it live. But also the important aspect of being able to see it live. So we did a test this past year where next year we have a broadcast window right now of Saturday and Sunday. There's always going to be a game on between that 7 and 9 p.m. time period in the European Central Zone. But we did a game on a Monday afternoon. So we took the Nashville Predators and the Detroit Red Wings. They hosted a game at 12:30 in Nashville. So a Monday afternoon, not a holiday. And we did it as a test to see two things. One, can we draw an audience in Europe on those games? Because we looked at the calendar. There's no European football and there's no competitive ice hockey at that time. So it's a clean window. It gets a little bit out of the family time on Saturdays and Sundays to try to drive a different type of viewership. And then, so that was one component. The other piece to it was, what does it do to our team to have a day game in the afternoon on a weekday during a work week? So we looked at the metrics at how did a crowd flow go and different aspects. So they were roughly, the only thing that really suffered were their local television ratings. They were down a little bit, obviously, because it was a 12:30 game. But the gate, they had 92% of capacity filled. There was slightly lower beer sales during the afternoon, but the overall concessions and activity in the arenas were great. So this all worked out well for the aspect of building the audience. So now next year, we plan to come back and have at least 18 to 20 games. So we'll have a consistent cycle of Saturday, Sunday afternoon or evening, and then Monday evening. So we continue to get those live broadcasts to fans over here. And then again, through our broadcast reach and our broadcast partners like Sky, here in both in Germany and in Austria, those our broadcast partners will continue to broadcast those so we have fans see it. We also have other avenues for people through different types of paywalls and different streaming services that can reach our games. But the opportunity for us is to make sure we're getting to as many fans as we possibly can in a free platform. We know historically that, particularly up in the Nordics, that we have hardcore fans who buy on a paywall, and we've had our broadcaster pay us a lot of money to get the rights, but it's a very small percentage of the population that's actually buying that sports tier. So it's important for us to get on that free broadcast and that those free channels that enables people and we talked the previous speaker about the casual fan and how you get them engaged. You've got to give them and get the product to them. So we're working on different ways in order to accomplish that and continue to build it. So that's from a broadcast standpoint and a communication standpoint. What we're doing from an event standpoint is we're building out different opportunities to bring our games here. We used to come over and start the season here for the last several years where we would play an exhibition game against a local team. We were down in Lausanne one year. We were up in Berlin. We were in Munich a couple of years ago with the Red Bulls. And we did an exhibition game, and then we brought two teams over, and they started our season in Europe. The challenge for us from a league standpoint were twofold. One, we're interrupting the league here because their league has already started. So trying to get an exhibition game with a team that's already started their season was a bit of a challenge and not necessarily fair to them. Second, we had to start earlier than we would normally in our season. So we were starting a weekend earlier than we normally would. So we had to bring our players into camp earlier. And that's always a challenge dealing with the players and when they have to show up for camp. So what we decided to do is move forward. We'll continue to play games in Europe, but we will only play regular season games in Europe, and we will build those, and we'll do those later in the year. So right now, this season, or next season, the season's still going on. Next season, we will have 2 sets of games, one in Finland in the middle of November and one in Dusseldorf in the middle of December. And we'll start to move those games out so they'll be later in the year, more relevant hockey time periods, as well as move into the following to January and February later on down the lines. So those are our live events in Marketplace. Then we look to do our Saturday and Sunday, as I talked about, continue to have that relevance to build out an audience. We do what we call hockey days in markets, and we've done them in Finland, Sweden, Germany, and Czech Republic so far, where we build out a day full of hockey. We work with our broadcast partner. We take a full day and we promote hockey. So it starts in the morning with ball hockey and street hockey programs. It goes to a youth tournament, and then it follows up with usually a country league game, and then it's anchored by the live broadcast of our NHL game. And we have a fan event. We have a viewing party. We bring hockey skills competitions to a particular city, and we celebrate the sport of ice hockey for the country, and then anchor it with an NHL event. We continue to do that, and that's also part of our global fan tour, excuse me, that we continue to move around and engage people and engage fans in hockey. Hockey's one of those weird sports that I think, talking to someone earlier, that if you can throw a football, you can kick a soccer ball, you can shoot a basketball, you can throw a baseball, you can do all these things. You can't necessarily just go out and get on a pair of skates and go skating. So if you're not familiar, and we're fortunate in Europe that most people are very used to and familiar with hockey, but if you're not, it's tough to get into and understand the challenge and the need of the game because you don't have access to it. So we're trying to create that access and creating fans and kids to understand the game by doing ball hockey programs, getting into schools, and developing ball and street hockey programs so they understand the game and follow it. Then conversely, we need to get them the audience so they can actually watch the game and finish that out. So our schedule of events really kind of lays out in a calendar year. So I put it in a calendar year from now. We started our Stanley Cup playoffs. So what we think is the best trophy in sport, because it's the oldest, and it's one of the unique where, again, I said the players get to take it after they win it. So and there's folklore around the Stanley Cup. When it's listed somewhere, the only people you can pick it up, they can move it, but the only people who can lift it over their heads are someone who's actually won the Stanley Cup. And we have these guys who are called the Cup Keepers. So they travel, it's out of the Hockey Hall of Fame. They travel with it, and if they see someone try to pick it up, they will literally tackle them. They have to, because it's just the folklore about it. But we have their Stanley Cup playoffs. In August, we come back with our European Player Media Tour, which we bring our international players here for our broadcasters to catch your content for the upcoming season. Then we start with our Global Fan Tour at the beginning of October when our season kicks off. We do our international games here in November, then December. Then we have our tentpole events similar to the NFL. With Super Bowl, we have our Winter Classic and our Stadium Series, which are outdoor games that we do tentpole events in North America. And then we wrap that up with hockey days in March and February and March in the countries as we start to develop and celebrate hockey. One of the other aspects that we're doing is building on the international stage. We just came out of the Olympics. This is the first time the NHL players went back to the Olympics since 2014. So we started with a precursor event in 25 with what we call our Four Nations Face-Off with 4 teams, Finland, Sweden, Canada, Russia. We came back to the Olympics. There are 12 teams that played in the Olympics. And then in 2028, we will do a World Cup now with 8 teams across our span. They will be predominantly all NHL players, and there will be 8 teams. There will be a group stage in Prague where 4 teams will play in Prague, 4 teams will play in Calgary, and then the finals, semifinals, and finals will be in Edmonton in 2028. That's, again, to get the best on best. That's in partnership with our players to really build that out. But we also we start to build this business and look for these opportunities at these touch points. We really try to focus in on the business development aspect of it and getting partners on board to help us. And we have a great partner. One of our first partners in Germany was Interwetten, and they've helped us by developing different platforms to communicate different programs of our top events, as well as the uniqueness of a lot of partners over here. They use the aspect of the assets that we do, not only to go to the Global Series games, but also bring their customers and fans over to North America and build out platforms to that. So we continue to look for those opportunities to build our business and, again, really promote ice hockey and the sport of hockey in conjunction with all the leagues that are across Europe.
Excellent.
So, that's all I have.
Yeah. The original idea was not me standing here being kind of a bodyguard, but I thought it is not the right time to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So let me skip all the questions I might have prepared. Germany, Austria, Switzerland. You're doing the series in Germany. You're based in Switzerland. You said there might be 10 players in the future. What else can Austrian ice hockey lovers expect? Is there any exhibition planned? Is that basically feasible and doable, or is it all focused on Germany because it's an 84 million market, and of course we are kind of the little brother or whatever it might be?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Fair to say that Germany is our focus, and for all those reasons, because of the size of the population and the economy. But Austria is important, Switzerland is important, Czech Republic's important, Finland and Sweden. Those are ice hockey countries that also have their own leagues. So we want to make sure that those leagues are still thriving. As I kind of mentioned, we're moving away from the exhibition aspect of it, but down the line, as we build out our broad strategy of the events that we're going to play here, we made a change within our system. We've added 2 games per year to the teams, so the teams now owe us an international game at least once every 4 years. What this enables us to do to move around more and go to do more of these international games across the market. So we're kind of capped at 2 to 4 on any given year. Now we can expand that to 6, 8, or 10 if we want to. And we'll start to look and move through the different countries to make sure that we're touching those hockey markets. The one physical challenge is rink size. If we play a regular season game, our rink, the NHL rink, is smaller than most European rinks. So we need to be in a facility that has the ability to shrink the rink down to the NHL size. And it's functionally about 12 to 15 feet of bringing it in, make it a little narrower. There aren't as many facilities as we'd like that have that, so that as the progression moves forward, we'll continue to look and focus on those facilities that have that opportunity and look to bring games.
Two questions on the global approach. Basically, we tackled that before, that it is extremely European-driven and European-centric because 30% are coming out of this region, so there is no Middle East and Brazil. This, of course, is different to NFL or other American sports. So are there any other options or windows of opportunities left outside of Europe? And secondly, you said, or you had the first game abroad in 1973, but basically have been one of the last in the chain of setting up an office abroad. Is that something you can also feel in the interest and the exposure back in the US?
Yeah, I think, one of the reasons that we were one of the last leagues to set up an office over here is because we had there was hockey here and there was an international presence. So as we started to see more and more players coming over and the leagues getting better to develop those players coming over, we felt it was important to make sure that pipeline continued. So one of the reasons we've moved over here and started to develop this, to make sure, again, that hockey is top of mind, hockey is developed. There's a lot of things that go into having a rink. So what are the ecological challenges? How do we solve that? We've got different groups working on different ice considerations and how you get access to it, whether it's synthetic ice, to make sure that there's better opportunity. It's an expensive sport. And as anyone who knows that, who plays it or has kids who play it, it's an expensive sport. And we're trying to find ways to make sure it is the gates to entry are reduced and lowered so more and more people can play.
So how do you make sure that it resonates within the believers in Austria and Germany?
Well, I think part of it is through our broadcast partner and our other partners to do that, to make sure that we're delivering the games and we're focusing on the games like Marco Rossi plays in, Marco Kasper, a couple other players that are coming up in the system, because we know that fans over here follow players more to a degree than follow a team. They may get brought into a team based on a player, but they lead with the player first. So we want to have the more players we can get into our league from Austria, the bigger and better that's going to be.
But it's basically a one-sided thing, and we can't, unfortunately, not expect that the Austrian league has any relevance to you guys up there.
Oh, no, absolutely they have relevance to us. I mean, again, it's a development of opportunity to make sure that there are players. You've got the Red Bull Academy in Salzburg, which is, whether they're going to Austrian players or going to Munich, they are a phenomenal system to develop players and make sure that players are getting into the academy and playing the game. So we want to make sure that continues.
Okay, excellent.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there are millions of other questions left, so
we hope
to tackle them later.
Thank you, everybody.